What's up, everybody? It's the week 4 edition of the Between the Lines podcast with Coach Stella. I am your host, Dante Setafonte.
We back, baby. We back,
We are here at the
What's up, baby?
beautiful, our humble abode.
That's it. Back
Interview
with my
stu-
point guard.
Interview studios in downtown Warren, Coach. It's been a very eventful week 3, and now we look
Little bit.
forward to week 4.
I can't wait, baby. I can't wait. Start tomorrow. I can't wait, baby. Let's talk about it.
And of course, our game of the week this week will be our Bueno Vista Cafe game of the week will be St. Ignatius versus Fitch. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yes, sir.
But starting off with our game of the week of week 3, it was Warren G. Harding versus Farrell, an interstate or a cross-state rivalry, if you will, two of the more historic programs in the local area, Pennsylvania, Ohio, coming together. Now, Farrell, they did have an Ohio matchup last year. They lost in week 1 to early in the season. I believe it was week 2 against Ursuline at home, but they were able to get that Ohio dub against Harding. Coach Pegues. By the way, special shout out to Coach Pegues.
Special shout out to Coach Pegues, the Farrell program, the community.
Yep.
Shout out to both communities for coming together, you know, producing a great atmosphere for the kids to thrive in. It probably felt like Saturday mornings for some of them kids, waking up, going to the park, one side against the other side, this side talking, this side with their group. So shout out to both communities, man. Shout out to Coach Pegues. You're doing a great job at that program. And shout out to everybody in Farrell Steeler land. Y'all did a good job, baby. We don't hold no grudges. We give props what they do, man. Shout out to the Farrell Steelers, man.
Coach Pegues was somebody who I got to know very well. He's the athletic director at Farrell, too. Anytime I needed something when I was a reporter at WFMJ, he gave it to me.
Nice.
So, and he's a great football mind, obviously. He has the state championships and the District 10 championships to back that up.
Keep it up, Coach. Keep it up,
baby. Let's get
into
the game, and let's start off with Harding. I mean, Chaz Coleman came in, took over for Drew, had a very nice touchdown pass, made things happen. But again, the Achilles heel for Harding was the second half. Same thing that happened with McKinley. They had a lot of momentum going into the second half, but they let it all slip away, which is what happened against the Bulldogs week 1.
Well, if that's starting to become a recurring theme every week, then that's something the coaching staff we got to look at, whether it's halftime adjustments, whether it's the kids not in good enough condition, or whether we just can't stay focused for 4 quarters, or whatever it is, it's starting to look like it's a trend, so we got to work on it. But again, before I get started, again, shout out to Coach Pegues, shout out to the Farrell Steelers that came and did their thing. Speaking on Warren Harding, people texting me, people calling me, Dante, whatever. Let's just start right here. Everybody got to get better. Everybody got to get better. If you work for the Warren G. Harding football program, if you a support staff, if you do the water, if you a middle school coach, whatever you do that's related to Warren football, everybody got to get better. I'm tired of people saying, well, it's the kids, or it's the coaches, or it's this, or it's that. How about everybody take some accountability and say we all need to be better? Because just be honest, it's very embarrassing. I'm a Warren guy. I love Warren Harding more than anybody. But it's not the wins and losses that's embarrassing. Sometimes it's how you win or loss. Like we all heard these cliches from our parents, our grandparents. And when you're growing up, you don't want to hear them. But when you get grown and you have your own kids, you got to live your own lifestyle, you recognize how important that stuff is. So it ain't about the wins or the losses, how we winning and losing. Are we really putting our best foot forward? Are we really being tough? Are we being great teammates? If I see my teammate down, am I going to talk to him and pick him up? If I see somebody up too high and we ain't won a game yet, or I'm bringing him down. If somebody ain't executing an assignment, am I going to talk to him? It's not. I just don't like it. I'm from Warren, Ohio. It's nothing to be proud of. I'm proud of the kids. They know I ain't talking about them directly or individually. As a collective whole, it ain't nothing to be proud of right now. And again, it's not about the wins and losses. Everybody going to win. Everybody going to lose. Sometimes you're going to have good years. Sometimes you're going to have bad years. But are we putting our best foot forward, and are we representing the program the right way?
I mean, the thing though about this game, because I know Farrell's not a team that we cover per se. I mean, you know, this week Coach Pegues and the whole program was so nice to give.
Thank you again,
access.
Coach. Yep.
Right, but I think that was a team that Harding needed to play, and I'll tell you this for this reason.
Okay.
We were talking earlier about how Farrell is small. Like in Pennsylvania, the divisions are different.
Yep.
Like the higher number or the lower, the higher number 6A, 5A. I think that's.
Yep. I understand what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Farrell's like you were mentioning the size of Kennedy, right, in terms of the roster size, and they went toe to toe with the Division II program.
Absolutely.
In Ohio.
Absolutely.
But the reason I bring that up is because, Farrell has that excitement that I feel like Harding used to have. And again, I'm from Howland.
That buzz.
I'm from Howland, but I know how passionate Harding fans are, and how passionate this city is for the game of football.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, but
how old is you, Doncy?
I don't know if it's.
I love you to death. We ain't trying to interrupt the show. How old is you, Doncy?
I'm 24, but like when
you
I was
right
in
though.
School,
what you saying? You right though.
When I was in high school, Harding was like this team that you had to say, "Oh my God, we're playing."
The vibe, the buzz.
But now I feel like teams are like not feeling that way.
No,
it's they're not like terrified of coming into Molotov Stadium. But the thing is with Farrell, you ask anybody in District 10 in Pennsylvania, Wilmington, Hickory, any of Kennedy Catholic, any of those schools, they're terrified to play.
Terrified. Yep.
And one of the reasons why they're terrified is because there's so much good energy with their program. Aside from being great, there's so much good energy. And I'm just alluding to the point that you just made. Yep. There needs to be a collective, urgency within every aspect of the Warren G. Harding program, the way there is with Farrell.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm alluding to.
Absolutely. It got to be accountability by everybody. And I agree with everything you said. And before we move on, Dante, and talk about the next game, this last thing I'm going to say, and I'm talking to the players in Warren. Little Raiders, Little Panthers, middle school, freshmen, JV, varsity. I tell my kids in Highland, JFK, Liberty, wherever I be. At the end of the day, you playing for two sets of people first. Normally on the front of your jersey, it say what? Whatever your school name is. Right. Now, you don't have names on the back, but let's imagine there's a name on the back. So at the end of the day, when you step on them lines, how are you going to represent your city? How are you going to represent your family?
Correct.
And again, it's not about wins and losses.
Correct.
If we're going to lose, I guarantee the person that's playing on the other side of me going to shake my hand and respect the you-know-what out of me. I guarantee you, this ain't a shot at nobody. This is the truth. I guarantee you when the Farrell Steelers shook their hand, there wasn't a lot of respect there. Not because they beat them, but because how they beat them. Because if I'm playing, I can feel if somebody's still fighting. I can feel if they tough. Sometimes it's just my night. My team just better than yours some night, Dante. But you still fighting, you still swinging, you still clawing. I'm going to respect you at the end of that.
But the thing that really bothers me, Coach, is that Harding could very easily be 3-0 right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because against McKinley, they had all the momentum going into halftime. It was tied. But in the second half, they played terrible from the jump. Week 2, they bounced back against Bookdale. You were there, and that was great. But then you have a prime opportunity to be a game over 500 going into a very, very tough game against Akron St. Vincent.
On the road, right?
On the road. And to beat a Farrell team, that's very solid. That's great. Like you, it's like they're like the Pennsylvania version of you with their history and their success. And same thing that happened in week 1 against McKinley.
Right.
You had all the momentum coming into the second half, and you played a very good first half. Harding was very good on special teams. That's what stood out to me. They played great in the first half, and in the second half, it was just flat. So they need to be a second half team. And I think Steve Arnold, that he needs to stress that.
Yeah, something they got to figure out. Again, it's one of them things that's hard to figure out what it is if we're not there every day, but we know we can see it's a problem.
You can't not score in the second half.
You can't do
it. Playing teams like McKinley and Farrell.
You can't do it.
You can't do it.
And to piggyback off your point, especially you had a chance to win. You win at Bookdale, had a chance to get another win, and got 2 games going into Akron St. V's. You feel a lot better about yourself with some better momentum, like you said. But again, it's still early. A lot of season left. All the kids in Warren know I love you. I'm going to support you to the end.
Absolutely.
But we got to get better. We got to get better.
Same with me. All right. Quite the upset. Avon, they did not get a lot of respect. And, reading and watching a lot of their quotes after the game, they just emphasized how nobody respected us. Everybody thought, Glenville was going to come into our stadium and just beat our behinds. And that's not the case, because we forget Glenville, no dissing to Glenville, but they're D4, Avon's up. D2, I believe. I could be wrong. But, they proved why they were a D2 team. And their quarterback showed great leadership. And I was very impressed by what I saw with Avon. We might need to consider going to one of their games for our game of the week in the future, because they're very good. Yeah, they're
very good. Real good program. Like you said, Dante, another little note is Glenville beat them last year close. It was a close game last year, and Glenville got them. So I know that was in the minds of the Avon players all year, how they want to get that back. And again, if people pay attention, look at the whooping Avon putting on Camp McKinley in week 2. On this podcast, y'all been hearing us talk about what Cam McKinley did to Warren Harding in week 1.
Yeah.
Go look and see what Avon did to Cam McKinley in week 2, and then backed it up with a home impressive win with Glenville. If that don't get your attention in the Northeast Ohio, I'm sure it won't. Now, I know the coaches and the people that follow football, I'm sure they was already following Avon. Again, shout out to their quarterback. Quarterback started off with an early pick. They had a nice drive and got a pick in the end zone. He bounced right back. Played a good game. They led by the backfield, Jakarion Caffey, big-time tailback, D1 tailback, and the big-time right tackle that's going to Michigan, Luke Hamilton. So they got a really good football team. Coach do a great job. They're building a program up and up and up. And again, it's one of them programs that's going to kind of look to be here every year, week 12, week 13, and kind of see what happens. So
right, in Glenville,
big time atmosphere too.
And Glenville, they have a lot of tests coming up, including probably the biggest test a high school team could have, playing IMG Academy. At IMG Academy.
And then 2 weeks later, you play at Hoban.
And you play at Hoban, yeah.
But again, shout out to Coach Ginn, because what Coach Ginn is trying to do is get his team ready for that long ride when I get to the playoffs.
Right.
So if we play Avon, we play IMG, we play Hoban, we're going to be ready when week 11 get here. So, if you Cleveland Glenville, I'm sure Coach Ginn told his team nothing to hang our head about. We lost tonight to a good football team, but we're still a good football team.
Absolutely.
Let's go watch film and clean up the things we need to get better at. And we're a dangerous, dangerous team. So,
no doubt.
Again, to be able to play at Avon in week 3 and come out pretty healthy, you know what I mean? Nobody got hurt. Even though they lost, I know Coach Ginn probably feeling good about how much better that got his team going into week 4 and beyond.
Yeah, no question. You got to keep your eye on Avon. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Hey, undercover too, Dante. I like their unis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their uniforms are raw.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
I like their unis.
You can't go wrong with like yellow and purple.
Yeah.
Any uniform that's purple, I like.
I give it to him. Shout out to Avon though. That was a big time win. Big time win, baby.
All right, we're gonna shift gears. Central Valley out of Pennsylvania in their home opener at Falcon Stadium, and they sort of laid an egg. And it was disappointing because in week 1 they played pretty much perfect on the road at Euclid. Well, they repeated that week 1 performance, but this time instead of doing it in Cleveland, they did it in the city of Canton, and they shut out Glen Oak, and it's a great prelude to their biggest test of the season so far when they play St. Ignatius this Friday, which we'll get into in a minute. But the thing with Fitch is, and TJ Parker, this is just a credit to TJ Parker. He's such.
Shout out TJ. What up, baby?
Absolutely. We were able to talk to him today. By the way, our interviews with him will be on the interviews.
Stay tuned.
YouTube channel very soon. But anytime you talk to him, and this is the vibe that I've always gotten when I talk to him, he's very, very calm. And sometimes that can be bad. I know a lot of Browns fans have that problem with Kevin Stefanski being too calm, but you don't want to be, too dramatic.
Right.
And if I had to describe TJ Parker in a couple words or a sentence, is he's not dramatic.
Absolutely.
He knows what he needs to say to his team. He knows what he needs to say to his players. And I feel like he did that in the Glen Oak game. He said, you know what? I know it's really too early to be worried about, playoff computer points, but, losing. And I know this is crazy for him to say, oh, well, this loss doesn't matter, because it does.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, you know what? We took a bad loss here, fellas, but we're going to go on the road. We're going to play a familiar opponent, and we're going to use that energy to fuel us for the Ignatius game. And then we're going to really get into the heart of our schedule. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's just the message he was sending to his team. It's week 2. We're a great football team, and, we shouldn't let, something, just blow up the whole season, because there's a lot of people in Austintown that I feel like, would get too dramatic after that game, because as passionate as Raider fans are, and Ursuline Irish fans are, and Glenville fans are, Fitch fans are probably just as passionate.
It's Northeast Ohio. I guarantee you probably 95% of the communities are like that. That's just what we do in Northeast Ohio.
But I really was impressed by what I saw by Fitch, because again, in Ohio play, where the computer points, matter. They haven't given up a point to a single team yet.
Right.
That's great going into St. Ignatius.
It is.
That's great for your confidence level.
It is. And I agree with you, Dante. TJ normally a calm guy. And I think the thing is, with a coach, with your head coach, you want him to be calm anytime you're dealing with adversity so the kids can stay calm. But more importantly, you want their head coach to be him. And that's TJ. You know what I mean? TJ and a really fiery, rah-rah guy. If you ever talk to TJ outside of football or anything, he's always just kind of calm, cool, and chill. So you want him to be more so to that side, because that's what his natural personality is. Me, on the other hand, if it's me, I probably might be a little bit more fiery, but it's going to be times that I got to be calm, cool, and collected. So TJ do a great job with that. To piggyback off your point, I think they did a great job going and getting on the bus, driving to Canton Glen Oak, making it a business trip, getting off the bus, being ready to play, smacking them in the mouth, get back on the bus, let's come home. And let's get ready for this juggernaut we got coming in next week in St. Ignatius. So I think that's credit to the Coach Parker and the staff. They got their team ready because it's hard to get young kids back focused after they lose a game they weren't expecting to lose. So that shout out to Coach Parker and the staff. They got them refocused. I'm sure that film study was probably hard to watch, but that's what made great players and great teams.
They have 2 great road wins.
Yeah. At Euclid, at Glen Oak.
Against farther away opponents to start off their season. That's great.
And different type of wins. You go to Euclid is a different type of environment with a different type of athlete. You go to Glen Oak, it's a different type of environment with a different type of athlete. But they both fiery environments, good programs that's mostly good every year. So again, shout out to Fish, shout out to Coach Parker, shout out to his staff. But again, they handled their business. They did what they were supposed to do. I'm sure the week 2 loss got all of their attention, staff, players, community. But they're still a good team. It's still early. And I'm sure Coach Parker will always be able to go pull out that week 2 tape if his team get to feeling themselves at any time. So you never want to lose to be able to make that point, Dante. If your team start feeling themselves, and I'm not saying that's what happened. When I'm saying down the road, if he see his team kind of feeling themselves losing focus, I'm sure he'll reference Central Valley, PA, or week 2 real quick. So, hey, shout out to the Fish Falcons.
I kind of low-key got that vibe in practice filming it and just seeing how they were handling, this game.
Absolutely.
This walkthrough before the Acacias game. And I think they're going to come ready to play tomorrow.
Hey, and they know they have to. You can't look at the record and, again, we're going to get in a minute. You're playing the program. This is Cleveland St. Ignatius.
Yeah.
So you better be ready to play because we know one thing about that. No matter their talent level, their coach, whoever, they're going to be ready to play. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be tough, and they're going to have good football players.
All right, let's keep it in Mahoney County. South Range took on JFK, a battle of 2 state finalists from a year ago. And, it's still, it just was not
it was ugly for the Eagles.
It was not a good look for football in the city of Warren.
Yeah, man.
It just wasn't. But South Range, you want to talk about bouncing back after a really tough loss to Green, having that historic regular season win streak snapped, and they just took it out on the Eagles. I mean, they're running tandem with Blake Ewart, 2 touchdowns. Ain Dominguez, he comes from great stock, 109 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. And just their whole offense was just subpar. If I had to, this is the dictionary definition of what you should do.
Give it to me.
I'm just saying, this is the way South Range played. That's the dictionary definition of what people mean by a bounce back win.
Yep.
It's going to make their confidence go through the roof.
And again, just like we was talking about, Dante, we was just talking about Fitch. Shout out to Coach Rock. Shout out to his staff. They did a good job getting them refocused.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Coach might not want to say this, and you never want to lose a game to make a point, but I bet you he ain't mad that winning streak is over as far as his kids' attention to it. Not as far as him wanting them to, to have that and have accomplishment, but I coach teenagers. They get caught up in stuff like that. So I'm sure he's happy that's over as far as his team focusing on the streak, and we could just focus on football. Like you said, shout out to the offense, Tristan Toy. He got the dynamic duo behind him. They went to work. We're going to talk about them here a little bit sooner. Coach Rock is the head coach, defensive guy, so he want to run that ball. He want to play defense. He got a dual threat quarterback that can pass and throw. Again, they lost, but they lost to another team that's another good program in Northeast Ohio. So they lost to Green. It's like, you clean your wounds, you lick yourself up, you go watch the film, get better, and they went and took it out the next week. And then, unfortunately, it was JFK. But, hey, man, shout out to the South Range Raiders, man. They're a big-time program. Like you said, that's a great bounce-back win. And, again, a lot of times that give me insight into the coaching staff. That give me insight into the coaching staff. Because players competitive, they always going to want to bounce back. But I can want to bounce back and still go out there and make the same mistakes. So they had them ready, and they corrected their mistakes. And big-time win to the South Range Raiders, baby.
What needs to change for the Eagles moving forward?
Well, it's hard to say because they're real young. You know what I mean? They're real young. So let them get to about week 5, week 6, and I'm sure Coach Buente will really know what he's dealing with. I haven't seen them up close yet, Dante, at a game, so I don't want to speak on it too much either. But I know they're young. And anytime you lose a coach bag, you lose a coach per logo, you lose some of the kids they lost as far as going to other schools, you're going to take it a little – you're going to go down a little bit. But Coach Buente, I think he's going to do a good job. You want to see your younger players getting better week in, week out. And the schedule going to ease up a little bit too. You know what I mean? They play Garrettsville, Garfield, and South Range. So as far as on the lower school level, they probably play two of the best football programs in our 50-mile radius. You know what I mean? So, again, you never want to lose like that. You just want your young players to keep working, keep getting better. And if they're not getting better in week 7, week 8, then I'm worried because you're not getting better, and then we got to carry that into the offseason. So sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, Dante.
I guess so.
And unfortunately, both Warren teams was this week. So
I guess so, Coach. Now we get to our last game breakdown of week 3, our other Bueno Vista Cafe game of the week that you were at. You were at Historic Reign Stadium, Coach.
Yeah.
And the West Siders, Cheney, took on Boardman. Now they have a unique schedule because after their disappointing week 1 loss to Akron East, they did have a bye. And we talked about on the pod, Coach Antrim and them bouncing back. And they definitely did, against in-county rival like the Spartans. They're in their home opener. They defended Ray, and that was the big thing. If you read the Vindicator the next morning, that that was the big thing. Defending Ray and Stadium,
defending that field, defending that turf,
and that's what Cheney did. And Boardman, they are not off to a great start. It's so
it's a little rough right now.
Yeah, but Cheney, the big story here is Cheney because maybe that's like the best time of the year for them to have a bye. You say, oh, why would you want to have a bye so early? Maybe I feel like Coach Antrim, this is a godsend.
It was perfect timing.
And you could tell they came ready to play because, if you watched any highlights that the news did, if you read anything or looking at any of the coverage that we did, you could tell that Cheney was on a mission and they bounced back.
You could tell, like you said, Dante, you could tell it was a team that lost week 1, had a bye week 2, and they just had a bad taste in their mouth. They just had to get it out. And again, shout out to Coach Antrim because he did a good job. Their boys was ready to play. They was ready to play. And again, I know they want to get that nasty taste out of their mouth. As far as schematics and details watching Cheney, seemed like they was trying to get that running game going a little bit more and not with Matt Jones. We know how good Matt Jones is, one of the better athletes we got in the area. But they got Juwan Harmon going. They got Bryce going. They got a lot of like a thunder and lightning type duo going. Of course, it's not as good as Reggie Bush and Lindale White when they was at UFC, but a bigger back, smaller back dynamic that could take some of the pressure off Matt Jones. I tell you this, though, Dante, watching them, if they get a big-time receiver, they got some young talent. You can tell they're trying to work their way through it. If one of them young receivers step up, it could be a consistent playmaker on the outside. They're going to keep really getting better and better and be that scary team or everybody always scared to play.
Right.
Defensively, they ran and hit. They do what Cheney do. They ran to the ball, they hit. Hey, I got to give a shout-out to Elijah Carter, baby. They don't talk about D lineman too much. Hey, man, this dude a beast. And I'm saying he a beast because I ain't going to put your height and weight out there like that. But I'm guessing he's 6'1", 200, 210. Man, teams can't block him, man. And he loved football. He loved the game. You could tell he one of them kids. He just loved it. So he had a big-time game last week, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Team player on the sideline. He always that one bringing energy, picking his teammates up. So shout out to Elijah Carter, baby. I seen you doing your thing. Shout out to the Cheney Cowboys. Y'all did your thing, way to bounce back and get that nasty taste out your mouth.
And I believe their game tomorrow is against Mogador. That's a team that they've had success against in recent years. Always has been on the schedule. But you also look at Boardman, and they're going to take on Howland tomorrow. And that game, I think if you look at this, obviously our game of the week is our game of the week for a reason. But if you look at the games that I'm most intrigued
by, an interesting one.
This one, I mean, it's a battle of winless teams. You have a team that lost but has some positive momentum in Howland. They played Hubbard, very well. There were a lot of bright spots, from what I've read, in what happened and watching highlights. There was a lot of positives in that game. And shout out to Coach Jones for that.
Coach Jones doing a good job, baby. Keep grinding.
For real.
Keep grinding.
He is. But Boardman, I mean, the game's going to be at Spartan Stadium.
Yep.
It's going to be a hostile road environment. Howland hasn't won at Boardman in quite a while.
Really?
I can't think of any time in recent
recent
years, but I feel like this is a game they can win, and I think they can get this game and have a lot of momentum. But Boardman, just because you have hard Letterman jackets doesn't mean you're gonna get. And by the way, their Letterman jackets are hard because they got the skull and the cross.
Okay, I ain't never seen them.
I've seen them like cover games, and I'm like, those are pretty fly.
Okay,
but you just got to get that momentum going, and I feel like Cheney's gotten their groove back, and Boardman needs to get some kind of groove because they're going to be playing a Howland team that is starving for some kind of a win.
Yeah, both programs starved. Watching Boardman, Dante, last
Howland
week.
more than them.
I mean,
trust me.
I don't know. Of course, you're a Howland alum, so you're going to say that, but
both
teams
Boardman has had success in recent years, and
Dante
Howland hasn't had much.
This is the point I'm telling you. Both kids want to win on both teams.
Right, I know.
So you want to know how by the game tomorrow. That's when we'll know who want to win more.
You're absolutely right.
Boardman, watching them against Cheney, Coach Doda and his staff doing a good job. They young, man.
They are.
Like talking to their coaches.
They lost a lot of talent.
They lost a lot of talent over the last couple of years. As I'm talking to the coaches, this kid a sophomore, this kid a sophomore, that kid a junior. He pretty good. He ain't quite turned the quarter yet. So Coach Doda and the staff doing a good job, and give them credit. Being there at that game, them kids played hard, man. They was hitting, they was taking hits, giving hits back. They had a couple times where they made plays. You could just tell they missing a couple athletes. You know what I mean? They need a couple more playmakers that could really put the ball in the paint. Offensively, I'm speaking, that could put the ball in the paint, score touchdowns at any given time. But as far as the staff and the program, the kids play hard, being on their sideline, whether they down or not, they encourage each other. So you can see Coach Dolan and the staff building the bricks the right way. It's just like you said, Dante, sometimes you need that talent, though. So I'm sure they feeder programs. They're working on their younger talent with their freshmen and their feeder programs, and hopefully they can get a little bit more talent coming in there over the next couple of years because, again, Coach Dolan and the staff doing a good job. They know football. They're going to put them in the right places. Now they just need to keep building it, keep getting bigger, stronger, faster, and get some more talent in there. They'll be okay. But I'm intrigued, Dante. 0-3, 0-3.
So am I. Now, before we get into our game of the week breakdown, which is what I feel like a lot of people are waiting for, let's get into some of our accolades. Our Between the Lines with Coach STELLA Player of the Week is South Range senior running back Blake Ewart, 9 carries, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also South Range junior running back Aiden Dominguez. He had 5 carries, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. They both combined for 294 yards and 3 touchdowns, complete dominance in the backfield. And also our Ellie House dog, our Ellie House player of the game. I cannot talk today.
It's okay.
I'm sorry about that. But shout out to them for sponsoring us. Our
So shout out to Cabron again, our Ellie House player of the game. Harding versus Farrell. Cabron Smith, 11-17, 169 in the touchdown. So shout out to Cabron. Now, our Coach STELLA player of the week, I had to give it to both of them, Dante. They both play in the same backfield. We just said it. They combined for 14 carries, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure by looking at the score, they probably only played 3 quarters. So imagine that. Whoever they play next week, can you imagine having a game plan for that? One back get 9 carries, over 180 yards. The other back get 5 carries, 109. And the quarterback can run. Tristan Toy can run also. So don't be surprised if this is his week right here, Dante. They might be eyeing on them, keying on them, and he might have a big week. So, again, one more time, our Ellie House player of the game, Cabron Smith. Salute you, baby. You did your thing. Way to bring your team from Farrell to a hostile environment, get the win, and he expected to get that win. So, again, our Ellie House player of the game, Cabron.
Putting an end to St. Ignatius's national championship run. This is the first time these two programs have played since 2012. Ignatius beat them in the first round. But the interesting thing about this game is you have 2 coaches who have both taken over for legendary coaches, TJ Parker with Phil Anarella and Ryan Franziger with Ignatius. And they both came up in the programs together then. And I just thought that was really fascinating. And I made sure I asked both coaches that today. You look at, Ignatius. They're coming off a horrible loss to Pittsburgh Central Catholic, but Fitch also knows what it's like to lose to a Pennsylvania team as well. Ignatius, anytime you have a first-year head coach, especially one taking over, for such a legend, I mean, it's going to be difficult. But if you watched how they played against Mentor on the road, they showed a lot of signs of scariness. And Fitch, I mean, they're playing this game at home. They're going to have everybody in the city of Youngstown pretty much, behind them. So, this is going to be a good atmosphere.
St. Ignatius travels well. Absolutely.
They do.
Absolutely, Dante. And then, I mean, it's at that point where it's our Buena Vista game of the week, because all we got to say is St. Ignatius versus Fitch. Most people that know football, you ain't got to say much more. St. Ignatius at Fitch, especially. Coaching for their respective programs they played in, younger guys. Shout out to Coach Franzinger and TJ. I played against both of them in high school. I expect the atmosphere to be electric. I expect both student sections going crazy. I expect both sides to be packed. And it's going to be one of the better football games in Northeast Ohio. 2 good coaching staffs, 2 good football teams, a lot of good football players. It's going to come down to who can make the less mistakes. Halftime adjustments, I always talk about it. Halftime adjustments, which coaching staff can go in there and regroup their kids and get them focused, and who can make the proper adjustments so their kids can be in better position in the second half to make plays and win the game. I'm excited. We all love football in Northeast Ohio. It's St. Ignatius at Fitch. A couple things I'm looking forward to. I'll give you one intriguing question I got for both sides, Dante. All right. If you St. Ignatius, okay, if you St. Ignatius, can you keep up with Fitch's skill? Can you slow the game down and make them play a slugfest type game? And if you Fitch, can you handle Iggy's trenches? If you look at Fitch, I talked about it in the preview, they struggled with Maslin last year. The PA team they lost to this year was like a ground and pound type team. So if you want to beat Fitch, the type of teams that normally give them problems over the last couple of years, is team that could play with tight ends, old school, try to shorten the game and run the ball down your throat. Because Fitch got skill and they got athletes. They want to get the game at a faster pace so they can get more plays. They figure the more plays they get, the more plays their playmakers are going to make, which is probably going to happen. So something intriguing to watch from a coach's eye is which team can get the other team to play their style of football.
Right, absolutely. And you look at Fitch, can they handle Ignatius up front? Can Fitch be balanced offensively? I mean, they've proven that in their 2 wins this season. But again, hate to keep beating a dead horse, but it is Ignatius. But this is a golden opportunity for Austintown to take the regular season, where it's never been before. I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, this is a down year for Ignatius. This isn't what we've seen in years past from this program. Losing 47-6. I don't care if the team is from Alaska. That never really happens to the Wildcats historically. And the game's at home. And I feel like TJ Parker, and I asked him this today, what a win like this would mean going forward as you get into really the heart of your schedule, where you play Maslin, where you play Ursuline, just what this, win would do confidence wise. And, it's just that name, St. Ignatius, if Fitch can, knock them off tomorrow night, I really, truly believe, and we talked about this in the preview, if they can get this win tomorrow, this is really going to, boost their confidence.
Absolutely.
And if they can win in a decisive way too, that would be just, I think that, their heads will be in like a really good place. A place that pitch football really hasn't been before.
Absolutely. If they come out tomorrow night, Dante, play well, take care of business, they won't forget week 2, but week 2 will feel like 10 weeks ago.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? If that happens. So, again, let's see if we could do that. Now, we could say it, not Coach Parker and his kids, because they want to focus on day-to-day.
Right.
But this type of game, you got Maslin, you got Ursuline. These are the type of games that you got to start winning regularly to give your kids to believe no matter who they play in the playoffs, they can go get it done. They got the talent. Fitch is loaded, man. They got the talent. They got a great staff. And it's just taking them increments, just taking them small steps to try to be a state champion. It's almost like NBA. It took LeBron, 7-8 years? It took Mike 7-8 years. So a lot of times you got to go through some adversity. It's tough. It's going to suck. But you got to go through that to learn different lessons. So when you get the right team at the right time, you can take advantage of it. And this could be the right time in the right year for Fitch. We just got to see. But it's definitely a big-time game. And it's one of them games, if they win, everybody in the community of Fitch will be proud. The players will be proud. Coaching staff will be proud. And it's something they can leap forward off going into week 5.
You know, and we look at your STELLA Spotlight, Coach.
Absolutely.
Just, you know, what exactly, you know, what sticks out about those two?
So when you're looking at, again, shout out to Sean Martin. Congratulations on your commitment to Toledo. He's a kid about 6 feet, 180, 185 pounds, plays tailback and corner. When I watch this film, I think he'll probably play DB in college. But when you watch him offensively, he's a one-cut guy. He got long speed. He's a long strider. He one of them kids don't look like he's moving that fast, but he's covering a lot of ground. I think he's better at corner. But anytime you sign a Division I scholarship to play football, I don't care where you're playing at, you're a good football player. You're a really, really good high school football player. So shout out to Sean Martin, big-time player. Can't wait to see him play tomorrow night. And then on the other side, we got DJ Williams, committed to Ball State. DJ, another one of my favorite players in the area. The last couple of years, he had to share carries. Their backfield always loaded. But he's the man now. He's the bell cow. I just like his game. I think DJ can be one of them kids that ain't really highly, highly recruited. But if we look 3-4 years from now, I won't be surprised if he at the NFL Combine and go have a productive college career and leapfrog forward. So DJ is a shorter kid, but muscular. He's got good speed for his size. He's the type of kid, if he get it 20, 25 times, it's going to be a big, big night. Some kids just got a knack for big plays and seem like DJ one of them kids. So I love DJ's game. Shout out to you, DJ. Congratulations on your commitment to Ball State. That's our STELLA Spotlight for this week. We're going to try to spotlight somebody from the game of the week every week and go like that. So shout out to them two kids. Again, Sean Martin committed to Toledo and DJ Williams committed to Ball State. Congratulations, baby.
All right, that wraps up our week 3 edition of Between the Lines with Coach STELLA. We look forward to week 4. There's so many intriguing matchups that await us tomorrow. But again,
the game's getting better.
But again, interviews. We'll only be at one game this week, and that will be St. Ignatius taking on.
Shout out to Slim.
So be sure to check us
out. Shout out to L Boogie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to the squad. Y'all can't see him right now. Interviews TV, Warren, Ohio. You know what? I love y'all, baby.
Absolutely. We'll see you tomorrow in Austintown, folks.
We out. Austintown. We'll be there.